Welcome to Relaxing with Watercolor. I'm Anna. Today, we're painting an abstract butterfly. I love painting these creatures not just because of the beautiful end result, but because the process is kind of a magical thing to watch unfold. I hope you experience that too. As a gentle reminder before we get started, make sure to check the video description for a full list of project materials to ensure you have everything you need. Okay, let's paint. I've started this piece by loading up my brush with a good amount of water, and now I'm tracing the outline of my butterfly. Sometimes I like to have a reference photo in front of me while I do this to remind myself of the shape I'm going for. The aim is to be pretty symmetrical, but don't worry if it's not perfect. This is a fluid sort of piece. Once I complete the outline, I'm going to retrace it with water a couple more times so the water looks raised from the paper. By doing this, we create a path for our color to flow. You'll notice that in some areas, specifically on the bottom of each wing section, I'm drawing the water down from the main outline. This is a stylistic choice. I want my butterfly to look like it's dripping over the canvas, and this will help create that effect. Remember, where the water flows, so does the color. Once you're satisfied with the shape of your butterfly, choose a base color. I'm using deep magenta, which creates a really rich undertone, but feel free to experiment. Load your brush with color and tap it into the outline. You can start from the center or at the wingtips. Keep tapping color into the water until it's flowing through your entire outline. At this point, you can also make more drip lines by teasing the water down from the outline like we did before. Adjust until you like what you see. Next, we're going to start pulling the color from the outline down over the wings to fill the shape. I'm making sure to use vertical brush strokes to maintain that impression that the butterfly is flowing down over the canvas. I'm also going to add the nub of the head and the bottom of the abdomen. With the base of our butterfly complete, I'm going to start adding more colors to create a gradient. I've chosen a rainbow gradient because I love rainbows, but again, feel free to experiment. Just be mindful of how the color you select is going to mix with your base color. Do a little test sample on a paper scrap if you're unsure. I'm doubling back here because I want the edge of the wing to have a more intense red. Remember, it's always okay to make adjustments along the way. When I do gradient, I like to make my strips of color a little wider than I actually want the strip to be, so I have a blending area for the next color. It creates an overlap so the transitions look a little bit smoother. Also, to get a true green, I'm not going to just add green to this painting. With the yellow and magenta, that would end up as a muddy brown mess. Instead, I'm going to apply a warm cerulean blue, which will combine with the yellow and the magenta to make the rich green I'm looking for. You'll probably notice that there's still a lot of excess water on the paper. This is a good thing because we're going to add a drip art element to this piece. Once you complete your gradient, load a little extra water at the top of the wings. It should just run down your established outline. You can also load more water to any existing drip lines you extended from the outline. And if you don't already have something under your piece to catch spills, now would be the time to find that because it's time to tip the painting vertically and tap it against your painting surface. Gravity will do the rest by pulling the excess water to the bottom of the paper. If you aren't getting the length of drip line you'd like, add more water and repeat the process. Something I really enjoy about this method of painting is that there are a lot of stylistic options that present themselves. If you want a really raw, elemental look, you could stop here. There are natural texture lines from the water and a sense of fluidity from the drip lines. You can also play around with texture by taking a paper towel and lightly removing some of the color for a sort of sandblasted look. Or you can double down on your gradient colors and smooth out the texture while keeping those fluid drip lines. So many options. I love it. For today's project, I'm choosing to smooth out this gradient and intensify the colors, and then move on to show you some detailing ideas. To smooth out the gradient, I'm just going to repeat the same process as before, and now with less water on the page, the colors will be a little bit easier to control. Okay, with the gradient complete, I'm going to let this sit until it's dry to the touch and then get into the detailing. The first detail that I'd like to apply is the body of the butterfly. For this, I've grabbed my artist pen. I'm going to start with a round little head and then move into a couple of antennae, which I kind of make like upside down L's. Next, I'll draw the thorax, which is wider and rounded at the top and then narrows at the bottom where it connects to the upper abdomen. I draw the upper abdomen kind of like a mini skirt and then connect it to the lower half of the abdomen that I draw as an upside down cone. And you can certainly look at a reference photo and maybe do a couple of practice drawings on scrap paper to get a feel for the shape or just to experiment with a more whimsical rendition before committing it to your actual painting. If you are going to take a more whimsical approach, you can leave the outline open so it looks kind of like a doodle. Alternatively, you can fill it in. I'm going to fill mine in because I want to use it as a central focal point for my painting. And for the fill portion, I've switched to my brush pen for a nice smooth application. Okay, the body of the butterfly is complete, and you could stop here if you want a clean, high contrast look. I think it's really pretty like this, but I also enjoy making a mess. So the final detail I'd like to apply is some paint splatter. For this, I'm going to use black to maintain the high contrast, which adds a touch of drama. I'll start by loading a good amount of water and paint onto my watercolor brush and then tapping another brush across it. I found that the closer I tap to the brush head, the finer the splatter, and the closer I tap to the end of the brush handle, the larger the splatter. Of course, the amount of water and paint on the brush affect the splatter as well. So these are just some variables to think about if you're going for a specific look with your splatter. In looking at this piece as a whole, I noticed that the drip lines add extra weight to the bottom of the piece. Now, I've already applied heavier splatter at the top to balance the composition, which kind of helped, but I'm also going to add in some bigger paint splotches for this same purpose. And I am trying to make these splotches look random, like the splatter, but it's surprisingly challenging to make specific decisions look random and not accidentally fall into a pattern. I'm also adding splotches to other areas of the painting, but more sparsely than at the top. Again, I'm striving for overall balance. All right, this beautiful butterfly is complete. I hope you enjoyed experimenting with some of the different techniques and detailing ideas we used today. I would love to hear about what you came up with, so go ahead and tell me all about it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for joining me today. It is always a pleasure. Until next time, take care.